Okay, so Kyle, I want to give you a simulation. All of your bags magically turn into ETH. The only thing that you hold now is ETH.
That's called a nightmare, not a dream.
What do you do next? What do you want to see changed to the Ethereum roadmap? How do you want to see the trajectory of Ethereum changed?
Wait, David, in the simulation, is he locked into those bags? Does he have to hold them? Is he
He's
forced
locked
to
in.
hold, or is
He's
he just
locked in.
going to
No
dump
selling.
them for something else?
No,
you can't sell,
selling.
Kyle.
10-year vest.
In that state of the world, I would ask Vitalik to reassume the role of benevolent dictator and to attempt to build an interoperability standard that figure out how to get all of the L2 guys to agree on a common interop standard. That would be objective number one. And then the other thing I would do is actually, no, I take that back. That's incorrect. I would try to figure out how to scale L1. I don't appreciate the mechanics of what, Vitalik and EF Core, how they would approach that technically. I'm not here to prescribe the technicals to those guys because they're way more technical than me. But I would tell them, figure it out, and you need to figure it out now. And then the other thing I would do is I would talk to your customers. Mark Zeller just went on I think the Bell Curve podcast, like recently, like in the last week or something. I just listened to it yesterday. And in the podcast, he said, I've never spoken to anyone who works at the Ethereum Foundation. I've never spoken to Vitalik. None of them have ever reached out to me. And like he today is like the primary person stewarding Aave. And Aave is the #1 application on Ethereum in terms of like sheer dollars in the system. It's like 20 billion TVL or something. It's a massive number. And I find that totally preposterous. Like, how can the core people who are supposed to be building the future of Ethereum do so without talking to their core constituents? And like Aave is, in my opinion, Aave and Uniswap are like the top two. And like, you're not talking to them. And I think that's insane. The Solana Foundation, there are people who are like, the DeFi team and the DePIN team and the stablecoin team. And like, there's like very obvious like groups of people who like are designed to interface with all these various stakeholder groups to like take their input and figure out what you need to build and stuff. And you see that manifest very clearly with like token extensions and other things that they've launched, or like directly an output of those functional units out of the Solana Foundation. So I would tell the EF, talk to your fucking customers and like listen to them and figure out what they want. I can tell you for sure, if you did that in 2020, then like Aave would have been like, wait a minute, you're going to have 10 or 20 or 50 instances of Aave. They're going to be separate collateral pools. That's going to be really weird and messy. And if you called Uniswap, they would have been like, so they're going to have I'm going to have an ETH USDC XYK curve, but I'm going to have 50 of them and not one. They would have been like, what are you talking? No, that's not good. And like, look, maybe you would have ended up going in the L2 roadmap. I don't know, but I can promise you, just like very objectively from the perspective of those two applications, they would have been like, this is bad for the functioning of my app. Now, again, you could have chose to override them or not, but like the fact that engagement's not even happening, I think is pretty damning.
I think one of the reasons for all of this, Kyle, is this word that maybe I'd love to get your take on, which is decentralization. And I totally agree that this is a charged word. There's almost some like purity tests that occur with it, and yet it's not a useless word because it is a term and a feature that does have some function when it comes to preserving censorship resistance or inflation resistance or some sort of corruption resistant. Those are the actual valuable features that I think fall out of a concept like decentralization. And I think if you talk to an Ethereum bull or even the EF about the decisions that they made with respect to rollup-centric roadmap, it would come back to some form of this word. Basically like, we're looking to preserve a decentralized validator set. We can't let the node requirements get too large. Execution and state and many of these things are a heavy task. So we're put in this position to outsource that to layer twos and have them like use Ethereum as a, like DA. Like we all know kind of how we got here. And it strikes me that when you were kind of describing the use case for blockchains earlier in the conversation, when we were talking a little bit about Bitcoin, you were kind of describing this world that Ethereum promised. I think the phrase that came to mind, I was typing in David in chat, was like, Kyle very much believes in open finance, but I'm not sure that he believes in decentralized finance. And here's kind of what I mean by that, is basically like, we were talking about this world of open AI, open financial AI, like API, where all of the apps and all of kind of the atomic units could, talk to one another. But I'm not sure that you were describing a world that was like decentralized and had like property rights imbued in the way that a Bitcoiner might describe them. Like they can't be censored or snatched up by the state. I think you were describing something a bit more like NASDAQ plus all of TradFi if it had one API that was permissionless that everyone could connect into. And so I think there might be a difference in vision here, but I'll just get you to kind of respond to that line of thought. This idea of decentralization that's embedded in Ethereum and the concept of DeFi, real decentralized finance versus just open finance. What do you say to this?
I agree with your fundamental diagnosis, which is a difference in what I would actually call values. And Ethereum, Bitcoin has a set of values. And like, you can, like, the promise of Bitcoin, there's like a few promises of like censorship resistance and transaction inclusion and stuff. But like the defining promise of Bitcoin is 21 million. Like that is like, if you were to sum up all of Bitcoin into one word, like that is it. Fixed supply, 21 million. And Bitcoin definitively offers the strongest future guarantees about monetary supply or in like inflation policy. If you wanted to get into like quantitative terms, you would say Bitcoin provides like 9 nines of certainty about the future supply schedule. It can't be 100% because like what if there's a bug in the system or some crazy shit happens, but like call it 9-9, like just like an exceptionally high amount of certainty about the supply schedule. And Bitcoin offers a stronger guarantee about future supply schedule than any asset in human history, including gold, because we don't know how many gold units are in the crust of the earth, and we don't know if we're going to mine gold from asteroids. So like definitively Bitcoin offers a higher guarantee around supply schedule than anything else. And it's very clear in that promise. Now, I take contention with that because I think optimizing for 9 nines of guarantee around future supply schedule is just unnecessary. Like each incremental 9 of certain future certainty you provide is by definition 10x less important than the prior 9 because you're asymptotically approaching 100%. And like, I don't know if the correct answer is 2 nines or 3 nines or 4 nines. I don't really know. I don't particularly care. I think Ethereum and Solana today both offer somewhere between 2 and 4 nines of certainty about future supply schedule. And yeah, I think Ethereum, to be clear, offers probably more, well, it probably offers a higher degree of certainty around future inflation. Obviously, given the burn dynamics and stuff, you don't know what the other side of it is, but let's ignore the burn side for a second. Just talk about the inflation side. Ethereum offers probably a higher guarantee than Solana does. I agree with that statement. I think both of them are somewhere between 2 and 4 nines. And I think that's a good enough. And I think optimizing beyond that for guarantees around future supply schedule is just unnecessary. It's the wrong optimization. You do need a base level of certainty, because otherwise it's like, well, now we're just back to fiat and people are fucking randomly printing money and stuff, and that's obviously bad. We want to couch all of that in the context of values. Bitcoin's value is clear. Ethereum and Solana, I think, on that arc, or in that range, 2 to 4 nines. Then the next question: what are other values beyond supply schedule? Mm-hmm. And it seems like the core value that drives Ethereum is decentralization of validator set. And like, if you wanted to maybe capture that in one word, you'd probably call it like solo staking, at home or at home staking or whatever. I'm not sure that's correct, but I think that's probably a fair characterization based on my understanding
and I
of
might
what
add
drives.
the feature that corresponds with that maybe is censorship resistance and like no invalid kind of like state changes.
Well, yeah, censorship resistant and invalid state changes are mechanically very different things. Like obviously the L2s, there's currently today single entities that are controlling all censorship for all of those, obviously. And they may change. We'll see if they figure out the decentralized sequencer sets or whatever. But as of today, very definitively on the L2s, like they're N of 1. I don't want to get into that semantics. My point is that like, it seems like Ethereum's core value prop is maximal node count, which includes at-home solo staking for validation of the L1 chain thing. That is a value to like optimize for. I think that is, if your goal is to win, I think that is the wrong value to optimize for. These systems are financial systems at their core. From day one, Anatoly was clear, decentralized NASDAQ, like we are here to build the world's best, most permissionless, accessible financial market in the world. And a byproduct of that is also you can just do payments, because like what is a financial market is like 2 atomic payments is like a trade. So like payments is implicitly included in financial market for everyone in the world to access. And we will make, and Solana has been very explicitly designed, making decisions architecturally to try and be the world's largest global financial exchange with permissionless access and, you know, cryptographically secured asset ownership and all that stuff. And like, those are 2 different value sets. One is like about the validator set, and that may potentially provide certain guarantees. Maybe it's around censorship resistance, although given the L2 roadmap, that's not the case. Maybe it's around valid state transitions, which is fundamentally rooted, I think, correctly in, you know, increased validator count. Versus like, hey, let's build the best atomic state machine for financial markets so that everything just magically works atomically in a single state. And so one's a very user-centric perspective of like functionally what do users want, or we think they may want. And one is like this more abstract notion of like CR and state transition validity. One final comment I'd make there is, like I just said, Bitcoin offers, let's say, 9 nines of certainty around future supply schedule, which I believe is unnecessary. You can argue Ethereum is optimizing for, let's say, 9 nines of guarantees around state transition validity.
Right.
That's kind of implicit in this frame. This is, again, one of those things that I think is intellectually and academically like a way to think about the world, but I think is like the incorrect way to think about the world. What matters, the most important actors as it pertains to the validity of the state of any chain are the centralized entities that interact with the chain. So that was primarily stablecoin issuers and centralized exchanges. Because like those are the people who are taking user deposits, crediting the user account, and then letting the users withdraw fiat or anything else that's off chain. And so like those entities have a very important place in the functioning of these systems, because TradFi fiat systems are going to exist for a while. Maybe not in 50 years, who the fuck knows? I don't know. But like for the foreseeable future, let's say minimum probably 10, if not 20 years, and who knows how much longer, those other systems are going to exist. And the majority of wealth in the world will be denominated in those other systems. And we have this crypto thing, and the crypto thing is growing, obviously. And like there's a very important bridge that connects those 2 things. And like the 2 most important stakeholder groups are stablecoin issuers and CeFi exchanges that very obviously provide those bridges. And like the reason Coinbase runs a node to accept your deposits and then ultimately allow you to withdraw dollars to a bank account, or the reason Circle runs nodes to accept stablecoins, and then if you want to redeem a stablecoin for the dollars, then they'll send you the dollars. Coinbase and Circle do not care how many other nodes there are. They only care about what the state of their local node says as it pertains to consensus. And the business logic of all of those organizations is explicit in that. They have some Web2 database that keeps track of whatever, and they say, wait, what does my local blockchain node tell me about the state of the Solana network or the state of the Ethereum network or the state of the Arbitrum network or whatever? And they use that to determine what will go in or out. And they don't care how many other nodes say, well, they care about consensus. Obviously, the state needs to be updated. So you do care about the 2/3 threshold to get to that stake weight so that you get the consensus finality. But like once you get the consensus finality, they don't care if there's there's 5 other people or 5,000 or 5 million other people who agree with them, so long as they know they're on the tip of the chain. And those people are the bridge to reality for all practical purposes. And so I believe that optimizing for my ability at home to know my own valid state is the incorrect variable to optimize for, given the need for this bridge thing back to TradFi.
To continue leveling up your crypto game, then you need to get on the Bankless newsletter. It's the world's most popular crypto email and is completely free. Just click below to sign up.